So this is game 2 of round 1. We have a Bant mutated Boggles against Black-White Pestilence. See kind of a slow curve from the Pestilence player, not really anything to play in the first couple turns, just play a couple land drops, maybe have a turn 3 Aven Rift Watcher, or of course Skyfish if he wants to pick back up a land. Stinkweed it maybe if there's a big enough threat. Boggles player just dropping out his first mutate creature, hoping to either mutate a flyer onto there or play Armadillo Cloak and get in swinging. We see the Black-White Pestilence player considering whether or not it was worth to play an untapped land in order to use Core Skyfisher and return it to the hand, but instead he decides he's just going to go for the tap land for now and possibly play 3-drop next turn. So we see Boggles player deploying first Boggle and just going for running out Boggles so you can try to play around the Edict effects and swing in for 2. Worth noting, Pestilence player, a lot of incidental life gain in this deck in order to offset the amount of damage that Pestilence does to both players, kind of make it asymmetrical in a way. Secret It being a pretty phenomenal card in this matchup in that no matter how big the Boggle gets, unless it has the first strike ability, the Death Touch-like triggered ability of Stingwing Imp will take care of whatever it's blocking, and its ability to be dredged back means it's going to keep coming back to handle threat after threat as it comes into play. Alright, see, he's mutating onto a Slippery Bogle, so it has hexproof, and it becomes a 3/4 because it becomes placed on top. And due to the triggered ability of the symbiote, it puts a +1 counter on it as well. Jeff, to answer your question, the 2 counters come one from the flying creature when it mutates, and the other counter comes from Essence Symbiote whenever any creature mutates. A little confusion there. Try to clear it up for our players. Alright, well, they're just trying to clear up confusion as a misunderstanding on the ruling. I think we finally cleared it up and everyone understands. And we're going to be on with gameplay. Oh man, so Guardian of the Guild Pact, one of the iconic cards for the Pestilence deck, in that it is unaffected by the Pestilence card itself because protection from monocolored, and the majority of cards in Pauper, with a few exceptions, are monocolored, making it a very difficult card to take off the table, edicts aside. Fortunately for the Boggles player, if he's able to deal with the Stinkweed Imp in some way, shape, or form, he'll be able to fly over, but until then, this is more or less a board stall. Another thing worth noting is because he elected to play the Slippery Boggle below the Flying Fox, it now is no longer a multicolored permanent and is unable to block Guardian of the Guild Pact. We see the ram through spell to kill the Sneakweed Imp from our opponent. Now, while that is a heads up play, I think the optimum line would have been to play the Armadillo Cloak and waited a turn. That way he also gets the trample damage to really get a rush of damage in there. See Core Skyfisher to start bouncing some lands, get some more incidental life gain, and Guardian of the Guild Pact serving to start pressuring the opponent. Yeah, but the way these two decks are built, I think the Pestilence player from the get-go being heavily favored due to the angles that it attacks other decks with its edicts and board wipe type effects that are pretty signature to the archetype. It makes it a lot more difficult for a deck like Boggles, especially a deck that's not as streamlined as a traditional Boggles deck, to be able to pressure the opponent in a way that's meaningful and is actually going to be able to close this game out. Now we see him serve up with both creatures, blocking with one Sneakweed Imp, putting some pressure on, and that's going to take that one off the table. Pestilence player continues to pressure our opponent. I wonder if we're going to see the ninjutsu here in order to start attacking the hand of the opponent. Yeah, okay. So ninjutsu, very old mechanic. Return an unblocked creature to your hand. It comes in, tapped and attacking. And it's now going to, when it does combat damage to a player, this one forces them to discard 2 cards, which is very notable because them being only on 3 cards in hand, they're discarding down to 1. It looks like our stream is slowed a bit. Let's see if I could get this to catch back up. Having some technical difficulties here. There we go. Of course, Sanctifier's here with its kicker is able to destroy an artifact or enchantment when it comes in. Destroys the Armadillo Cloak, taking away that trample ability. So, although this Migratory Orangutan is rather enormous, unless he's able to draw another Armadillo Cloak. But once again, we know what's in his hand, so we know he has another one waiting in the wings. So he's able to deploy it. However, it's whether or not he wants to expose it right now. Alright, so he's going to throw it out there. Making for a 14-14. Looks like he's going to wait on it. Wait for possibly another mutate creature or another enchantment. While now the Black White Pestilence player just gaining some extra life here with Aven Riftwatcher. Riftwatcher going to make for a great blocker because not only does it block to buffer his life total a little bit, along with Sneak Wind Imp, when it dies, it's also going to gain a little extra life as well. Mogis' Favor is an interesting card that we see the Pestilence Spec keeping in his deck. It's as a recurable pseudo removal spell for X1 creatures. Ooh, Winding Wave from the Boggles player. Fantastic card. We'll see him name creature and get to mutate creature off the top. Exactly enough mana to play it out there. This will bump the stats a lot. So be able to get another land out of his deck, as well as no, 2 lands out of his deck, 1 for each Great Horn, and he'll also be able to get an extra +1 counter for each of the birds, the Volcapetes. Volpakeets. Oh, yeah. Not overly familiar with the names of this new set. And that edict should pretty much be the nail in the coffin. This game is pretty much over. And there's the concession, and that's the game.
Oh, games are finishing up, huh?
Oh man.